Hello everyone, this is Fafa Berry back with another episode of Fafa Berry Reading. Today, I'm going to read Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets, the second epic novel by Dave Pilkey. Tra-la-la! Sorry. This book has been approved by PETT. Yeah. To people for the ethical treatment of toilets. To learn more, please visit planetpilkey.com. Got our chapters here. Got a picture of George and Harold. Hello? Before you read this book, there are some things you should know. So Harold and I created this informative pamphlet to fill you in on the details. Please don't let this comic fall into the wrong hands. The Top Secret Truth About Captain Underpants by George Beer and Harold Hutchins, who deny everything. Once upon a time, there were two cool kids named George and Harold. We are cool! Me too! They made their own comics about a superhero named Captain Underpants. Tra-la-la! Everyone thought their comics were funny. Ha 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 ha! Except for their mean old principal, Mr. Krupp. Blah, blah, blah. One time, Mr. Krupp was being mean to George and Harold. Blah, blah, blah. So they bought the 3D Hypno Ring. They hypnotized Mr. Krupp. I will obey. Then they turned him into Captain Underpants. But Mr. Krupp thought he really was Captain Underpants. He jumped out the window to fight crime. Uh-oh! Tra-la-la! George and Harold tried to stop him, but they had to save the world first. Kaboom! See that? From the last book where they successfully captured Dr. Diaper. When they got back to school, well, George poured water on Captain Underpants' head. He turned back into Mr. Krupp, but something was wrong. Blah, blah, blah. Because now, for some strange reason, every time Mr. Krupp hears someone snap their fingers, snap! He turns back into Captain Underpants. Tra-la-la! So, whatever you do, please don't snap your fingers around Mr. Krupp. Please, please, please! Don't snap those fingers! This has been a public service announcement from George and Harold, who still deny everything. And still need to read. Chapter 1. George and Harold. This is George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is the kid on the left with the tie and the flat top. Harold is the one on the right with the t-shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that now. Depending on who you asked, you probably hear a lot of different things about George and Harold. Their teacher, Miss Ribble, might say that George and Harold were disrespected and behaviorally challenged. Their gym teacher, Mr. Meaner, might add that there were a serious need of major attitude adjustment. Their principal, Mr. Krupp, probably had a few more choice words to include, like sneaky and criminally mischievous, and I'll get those boys. It's the last thing well, you get the idea. But if you ask their parents, they'd probably tell you that George and Harold were smart and sweet and very good-hearted, even if they were a bit silly at times. I had to agree with their parents. But them into a lot of trouble. Sometimes, in fact, it once got them into so much trouble, they almost destroyed the whole planet with an army of evil, vicious, talking toilets. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. Chapter 2, this story. One fine morning, Jerome Horowitz Elementary School, George and Harold had just gotten out their 4th grade radical gym class when they saw a big sign in the hallway. It was an announcement for the 2nd annual invention convention. Excuse me. George and Harold had fond memories of last year's invention convention, but this year's convention, it was a bit different. The first prize winner got to be principal for the day. Wow, said George. Whoever gets to be the principal gets to make up all the rules for the whole day, and everybody in the school has to follow those rules. Excuse me. We have got to win the first prize this year, exclaimed Harold. Just then, George and Harold's principal, Mr. Krabs, showed up. Aha! He shouted. I'll bet you two are up to no good. Not really, said George. We were just reading about this year's contest. Yeah, said Harold. We're going to win first prize in the contest and be principals for the day. Laughed Mr. Krupp. Do you honestly think I'd let you two enter this year's contest after that stunt you pulled at last year's invention convention? George and Harold smiled and thought. Back to the first annual invention convention. Chapter 3, the flashback. It was about 1 year earlier, and all the faculty and students of George Horowitz Elementary School had gathered in the gymnasium, for what would later be known as the sticky chair incident. George and Harold stepped up to the microphone, probably because last year they were 3rd graders. Now this year they're 4th graders. Ladies and gentlemen, said George. Harold and I have invented something that is guaranteed to keep you all glued to your seats. Yes, said Harold. Let me call it glue. Mr. Crump became very angry. You two didn't invent glue, he shouted. He stood up to take the microphone away from Harold, and his chair stood up with him. Everyone in the gymnasium laughed. The school secretary, Miss Ambrose, stood out to help remove Mr. Crump's chair from his pants. Her chair stood up with her, too. Everyone in the gymnasium laughed harder. The other teachers stood up and, you guessed it, they were stuck to their chairs as well. Everyone in the audience howled with laughter. One kid stood up to go to the bathroom. His chair came out with him also. The audience stopped laughing so hard. They all quickly checked their chairs, and suddenly the laughter stopped completely. Everyone in the whole school was glued to their seats. Well, except George and Harold. Sorry. You see... Excuse me. While it was true that George and Harold had not invented glue, they had invented a new kind of glue by simply mixing rubber cement with a concerted orange juice mix. They had created a quick drying body heat in activated glue. Then and they applied this special glue to every seat in the gymnasium, except theirs early that morning. Everyone in the gymnasium was glaring at George and Harold and seething with anger. "I've got an idea," said George. "What?" asked Harold. "Run!" cried George. George and Harold were grinning from ear to ear. Remember, remembering that silly invention and the chaos that followed. "That was hilarious," laughed Harold. "Yeah," chuckled George. "It'll be hard to top that act this year." Er, well, you won't get a chance this year," said Mr. Krupp. He took out a magnifying glass and held it up to the fine print on the sign. "This contest is open for all the students in the third and fourth grade, except George Beard and Harold Hutchins." "You mean we can't answer the contest?" asked Harold. "It's worse than that," laughed Mr. Krupp. "You boys even can't even attend this year's convention. I'm putting you two in the study hall that whole day." Mr. Krupp turned and walked away, laughing victoriously. "Rats!" said Harold. "What are we going to do now?" "Well," said George, "you know the old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. Try again. If you can't join them, beat them." I think the correction for this one is, if you can't beat them, join them. Chapter 4. The Invention. Early that evening, George and Harold sneaked back to school with their supplies. They crept into the gymnasium and peeked around. I think somebody's still in here," whispered Harold. "Oh, it's just Melvin Sneedley," said George. Melvin was a school brainiac. He was busy putting some last-minute touches on his new invention for the contest. "We should wait until he leaves." "We should wait until he leaves," whispered Harold. "No way," said George. "He could be here all night. Let's just go over and talk to him." When Melvin saw George and Harold approaching, he was not happy. "Oh no!" he said. "I bet you guys are here to mess with everybody's inventions." "Nice guess," said George. "Listen, we promise not to mess with your invention, and if you promise not to tell anybody that you saw us here tonight." Melvin looked lovingly at his invention and reluctantly agreed. "I promise," he said. "Great," said George. "Say, what is that invention of yours anyway?" It just looks like a photocopy machine." "Well, it used to be a photocopy machine," said Melvin, "but I made some major adjustments to it. Now it is an invention that will revolutionize the world. I call it the Patsy 2000. It would revolutionize the world, and you named it Patsy?" asked Harold. "Yes," said Melvin. "Patsy, he is an acronym for photo automatic train. It's like I'm sorry I asked," said Harold. "Sorry, it's hard to pronounce those words." "Allow me to demonstrate," said Melvin. "The Patsy 2000 can take away a two-dimensional image and create a living, breathing, three-dimensional copy of that image. For example, take this ordinary photograph of a mouse." Melvin placed Placed the photo of the mouse onto the last screen, the Patsy 2000, and pressed start. The lights in the gymnasium dimmed as all the power in the entire school seemed to get sucked into the Patsy 2000. Soon the machine began to vibrate and hum loudly, and tiny bolts of static electricity snapped out from underneath. "I hope that thing doesn't explode," said Harold. "Oh, this is nothing," said Melvin. "You should have seen how the Patsy 2000 reacted when I copied the poodle." Yeah, I probably tested it on a poodle. Finally, after a series of flashes, loud zaps, everything stopped. A small ding was heard. Then a tiny mouse crawled out of the side door of the Patsy 2000 and onto the floor. "Isn't it wonderful?" exclaimed Melvin. George inspected the mouse closely. "That's a great trick!" George laughed. You really had me going for a while." "It's not a trick!" cried Melvin. "The Patsy 2000 really does bring photos to life. I've even created living creatures on paintings and drawings." "Yeah, right," laughed Harold. "And I thought we were con artists." George and Harold walked away chuckling. It was time to move on to bigger and better things. Chapter 5. Bigger and better things. George went to the other end of the gymnasium, opened their backpacks, and began to work. George busied himself by turning all the spray nozzles on the automatic dog washer, while Harold filled up the soap tank with India ink. Then they moved on to the volcano detector. "Will you please pass me the big bag of butterscotch pudding and Phillips head screwdriver?" asked Harold. "Sure," said George. As he carefully inserted eggs into the ping pong servomatic. Chapter 6. The Invention Convention. The following day, he started out sunny and cheerful. The students are faculty filled into the gymnasium and checked their seats very carefully before sitting down. "Greetings," said Mr. Krupp, who was standing up at the microphone. "You don't need to worry about sticky seats today," he said. "I've taken the measures to ensure that this invention convention will not be a disaster like last year's." Whoops. Everyone settled in as Madison and Mancini, a third grader, stepped on stage. He used to demonstrate her automatic dog washer. "First," said Madison, "you put your dog in the tub. Then you press this button." And Madison pressed the start button, and at first nothing happened. Then suddenly, a spurt of inky black water sprayed up, and all out over the crowd. Everyone except the dog got soaked as Madison tried desperately to turn off the sprayers. "I can't stop it!" she cried. "Someone turn all the nozzles around!" "Now who could have done that?" asked Mr. Krupp. Next up was Johnny Shoemaker, with his ping pong servomatic. He turned the machine on, and immediately it began hurling extra large grade A eggs into the crowd. Ploop, ploop, Bloop, 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 bloop. Went the machine. Splat, 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 splat. Went the eggs. I can't turn the machine off! Cried Donnie. Someone jammed a paper clip into the controller. Now who could have done that? Asked Miss Ribble. Freddie Moore's volcano detector was also a big flop. When Freddie connected the circuits to the 9-volt battery, a large spring, which had been crammed into the center of his miniature volcano, launched a gigantic plastic bag of butterscotch pudding high into the crowd. It landed somewhere between the third and fourth rows. Splat! Hey! Why, Freddy? Somebody put pudding in my volcano. Now, who could have done that? Asked Misdemeanor. Like a reference to the very first Captain Underpants book. The rest of the day went on much the same way, with people shouting everything from "Hey! Help me in my solar-powered leaf blower" to "Hey! Who let all the mice out of my treadmill dune buggy?" It wasn't long before everyone fled the gymnasium, and the second annual invention convention has been called off. How could this have happened? Cried Mr. Krupp as he wiped his chocolate syrup pencil shavings, and cream of mushroom soup off his face and shirt. George and Harold had been in study hall all day long. I put them there myself. Excuse me, Mr. Krupp, said Melvin neatly. I think I have an answer to your question. Chapter 7. Busted! Crash! Went the door to the study hall room. Mr. Krupp stomped in like a crazy person. George and Harold never seen him this upset before. You boys are in so much trouble! Mr. Krupp shouted. I'm putting you on permanent detention for the rest of the school year! Man, Mr. Krupp is so mad at George and Harold for pulling off a stunt like that. But don't worry, everyone. You're not all in trouble. Just reading. Wait a second! Cried George. You can't prove anything! Yeah, said Harold. We've been here all day! Mr. Krupp smiled devilishly and looked toward the door. Oh, Melvin, he called. Melvin Sneely stepped into the room, covered in mustard, eggshells, and shredded coconut. They did it! Melvin said, pointing at Jordan Harold. I saw them last night in the gym. Melvin! Cried George, horrified. You promised! I changed my mind, Melvin said, grinning smugly. Have fun in detention! Chapter 8. The Invention Convention Detention. After school, Mr. Krupp ushered George and Harold into the detention room and wrote a long sentence on the chalkboard. From now on, growled Mr. Krupp, you boys will spend 2 hours a day after school copying the sentence over and over. I want every chalkboard in this room filled completely. On his way out, Mr. Krupp turned and slid and said with an evil grin, and if either of you leaves this room for any reason, I'm going to suspend you both. Don't worry, you guys are not in trouble. Okay. guessed, writing sentences was nothing new to George and Harold. The two boys waited until Mr. Crump left the room. Then they took... Oh, then they each took 4 homemade wooden rods out of their backpacks. The rods have holes in them. That George and Harold had drilled it in George's dad's workshop. Wood shop. While Harold inserted a piece of chalk into each hole. Then they each took a pole and began copying Mr. Cup's sentence every time. And they wrote one sentence. The wooden poles made 12! After about 3.5 minutes, every chalkboard in the room was completely filled. George and Harold sat down and admired their work. We got a lot of time on our hands now, said George. Got any ideas? Let's make a new comic book, said Harold. So the two boys took out some paper and pens and created an all-new adventure about their favorite superhero. It was called Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. Chapter 9. Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets by George Beard and Harold Hutchins. Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. Story by George Beard, pictures by Harold Hutchins. One day at school, everything was pretty normal. The lunch ladies were serving toasted rat sandwiches. Ew! That'll be gross to eat toasted rat sandwiches. The principal was yelling. Blah, blah, blah. And the gym teacher was being mean to everybody. My grandma can run faster than you guys. So man, that's so crazy. Then a UFO appeared. It zapped the school with an evil ray. That ray made all the toilets come to life. It made them evil too. The toilets were hungry. Yum, yum, eat 'em up. So they ate the gym teacher. Help! The toilets just scratched somebody's car and ate up the gym teacher! Lord have mercy! Wait. Was it my car? Because they looks like George Haley used Mr. Crop in this story, but made his skin the wrong color. This looks like a job for crash. Captain Underpants! Captain Underpants ran into the storage room. Yum, yum, eat 'em up. He found a bunch of plungers, and he put them in the toilets. Their mouths got stuck. Tra-la-la! Hooray for Captain Underpants! Now to stop that evil UFO. Captain Underpants went outside and saw the UFO. It opened up. Click. And out jumped the terrible Turbo Toilet 2000. I'll flush you. They had a big fight. Captain Underpants was faster than a speeding waistband. Zip! More powerful than boxer shorts. Kick, tra-la-la! And able to leap tall buildings without getting a wedgie. Captain Underpants snuck up behind the Turbo Toilet 2000 and gave him a wedgie. Wedgie power! Ouchie! They hung the Turbo Toilet 2000 at a stop sign and pulled it back hard. Stretch! Then he let go. Twing! Kaboom! The spaceship blew up and all the toilets returned to normal. Hooray! Even the gym teacher escaped. Oh man! The end. Chapter 10. A big mistake. George and Harold sat together in the detention room, reading through their her newest comic book and beaming proudly. We got to go to the office and make copies of this, said George, so we can sell them on the playground tomorrow. We can't, said Harold. Don't you remember Mr. Crump said he'd suspended us if he caught us leaving this room. Then we won't let him catch us, said George. Excuse me. George and Harold sneaked out of the room quietly. They had crawled down the hall on the office. Uh-oh, said Harold. There's a bunch of teachers in there. We'll never get to use the copy machine. Said George. Are there any other copy machines in this school? How about the one that Melvin had in the gym? Asked Harold. Oh yeah, said George. George and Harold crept over to the gym and found the Patsy 2000. I wondered if his machine still makes copies. He said Harold. Melvin did say that he had made some adjustments to it. Oh, he probably just crammed in a mouse in there to fool us, said George. It's the oldest trick in the book. I'm sure the machine still makes regular copies. George placed the cover of their new comic book face down on the glass screen and pressed start. All at once, the lights of the whole school dimmed and the Patsy 2000 it began to shake and clog around. Wildly, giant bolts of static electricity zapped out the bottom of the machine as a great whirlwind rose from the top. Loose papers and other small objects were in the room were sucked into the wind as they spun above the machine like a raging cyclone. I don't think it's supposed to do this! Shouted George over that horrible noise. Finally, after a series of zaps and flashes and loud zaps, as the noise, wind, and sparks stopped altogether, the only sound that could be heard was something groaning and clawing it about inside the bloated, battered frame of the Patsy 2000. It sounds like something's alive inside there, said Harold. George snatched the comic book from the top of the machine. Let's get out of here, he cried. Just then, a small ding was heard. Yeah, full-sized, a shiny white toilet emerged from the side of the Patsy 2000. Its teeth were sharp and jagged, and its angry eyeballs glowed red with red, swelling veins. Yum, yum, eat 'em up! Cried the evil toilet. Almost immediately, another talking toilet emerged, followed by another. Yum, yum, eat 'em up! They cried. Oh no! Melvin was right! The photo mattress! That's happening! Something got that trick looking! And it came into the zip! And zipped through! Was a really does! I was creating living, breathing, three-dimensional copies of two-dimensional images! It's Harold Kaikon. See? I've got an idea, said George. What? Asked Harold. Run! Cried George. Chapter 11. The Invention, Convention, Detention, Suspension. George and Harold screamed and ran out of the gym door, closing it tightly behind them. Aha! Yelled Mr. Crab, who was just coming down the hall. You boys left the detention room! You know what that means, don't you? It wasn't our fault! Cried Harold. Too bad! Mr. Crab shouted with delight. You boys are officially suspended! Wait! Cried George. You got to listen! Behind the sword and army! Now evil men stop! I don't want to hear listen to you boys ever again! Laughed Mr. Crumb. Now get your stuff and get out of your skull! But, Hammered stammered. You don't understand! Get out! Mr. Crumb screamed. Don't worry, everyone, I'm not mean at you. It's just that you're all too nice. What are you here? George and Harold groaned and walked to their lockers to collect their stuff. Gosh! Said Harold, and one day we got a detention, a suspension, and we created an army of evil talking toilets who had to take over the world. That's a pretty bad day, even by our standards, said George. Oh well, said George. I just hope things don't get worse. Man, look how sad George and Harold are. Man, just got suspended. Chapter 12. Things get worse. Word spread quickly throughout the office. George and Harold had been suspended. The teachers rushed out to cheer and laugh at the two boys. You're in big trouble now. Oh, chuckled Miss Anthro. I can't wait to call your parents and tell them the news. Let's take and go downstairs outside and shut them up, cried Miss Rebel. Let's throw a party in the gym, shouted Mr. Meaner. Yeah, I'm not mean at you. Guys are not in trouble. Right here. No! Cried George. Whatever you do, don't open the door to the gym! What? We can do whatever we like! Snarled Mr. Meaner as he dashed over to the gymnasium. Look! I'm opening the door! He quickly opened the gym door. Now I'm closing the door, he said. Now I'm opening the door again! And now I'm... An evil toilet has stuck its mouth through the door, or snapped Mr. Meaner up and swallowed him whole. Flush! The talking toilets then pushed their way through the open gymnasium doors and spilled out into the hallway. Yum, yum, eat 'em up! The toilet spelled, yum, yum, eat 'em up! Snap! The teachers couldn't believe their eyes! They screamed and ran for their lives! Only Mr. Crumb and Miss Rebel... Well, Mr. Crumb, Miss Rebel, and George and Harold remained frozen in fear. They watched paralyzed as the talking toilets came nearer and nearer. Finally, Miss Rebel pointed at the rope at the toilets and snapped her fingers. Snap! Go away! She cried. Go away, that's nuts! But the toilets didn't listen. They moved closer and closer. Don't worry, I'm not mad at you. I'm just too nice. Finally, Miss Rebel turned and ran. Mr. Crump, however, just stood in a daze. George and Harold looked up at him. Uh-oh, said Harold. Did she just snap her fingers? Yep, said George. Now we're really in trouble. And George was right, for at that moment, Mr. Crump began to change. A silly, heroic smile came over his face as he stood defiantly before his foes. I'll put a stop to you vile villains once and for all, he said fearlessly. But first, I need some supplies. Mr. Crump turned and dashed into his office. George and Harold... all ran after him. Why did Miss Ribble have to snap her fingers? Cried Harold. Why? Never mind that, said George. Mr. Crump is turning into Captain Underpants. We got to pour water over his head before it's too late. Chapter 13. It's too late! When George and Harold reached Mr. Crump's office, they found only his clothes, shoes, and toupee on the floor. Look, said Harold, the window is open and one of the red curtains is missing. What do we do now? Asked Harold. Do we save Captain Underpants or do we stay here and get eaten out by a bunch of toilets? Let me think about that one, said Harold as he climbed out of the window. George quickly collected Mr. Crump's things and shoved them into his backpack. Then he jumped out the window after Harold. The two boys slid down the flagpole and ran off after Captain Underpants. Where does he think he's going? Asked George. I have no idea, said Harold, but we better run fast because I think we're being followed. Captain Underpants dashed through the backyards of some nearby houses and collected pairs of underwear from some clotheslines. Mommy, said a little boy looking out his window. Maybe Ricky just stole our underwear. And now two boys are being chased by a ferocious looking toilet with sharp pointy teeth screaming, yum, yum, eat 'em up! Yeah, right, laughed his mother. Just how gullible do you think I am? Chapter 14. The Talking Toilet Takeover. When Captain Underpants was finished commanding the underwear of the local civilians, and he dashed back to Dwarf Howard's elementary school to save the day. The school was now overrun with chaos. Miss Ribble was tearing out the door, followed by several evil toilets. Help me! She cried. This woman ever did the whole building onto me! Don't worry, ma'am. I won't let him eat you up, Captain Underpants said as a toilet ate her up. Oops, said Captain Underpants. Now only George, Harold, and Captain Underpants were left. They stood on the front lawn of the school, completely surrounded by hungry, drooling toilets. Yum, yum, eat 'em up, the toilets chanted. Yum, yum, eat 'em up! Yum, yum, eat 'em up! Yum, yum, eat 'em up! We're doomed! Cried Harold. Never underestimate the power of underwear! Cried Captain Underpants as he stretched and shot underwear into the toilet, to the waiting mouths of the hawking toilets. Unfortunately, the toilets just swallowed the underwear whole. It only seemed to make them hungrier and hungrier. Man, it's like the talking toilets are kind of like skinny toilets, but a bit hungrier. If only we could think of something that really make them sick. That'll make them really sick, said George. Yeah, Harold continued. Something so vile and disgusting. This thing it would make all their cookies is a rife and oniony. Suddenly, George and Harold's faces lit up. Come on, we have food! They shouted, and faster than a speeding waistband, our three heroes dashed into the school. Told you before, Captain Underpants is faster than a speeding waistband, more powerful than boxer shorts, and able to leap tall buildings without getting a wedgie. Chapter 15. Green eats chipped beef to the rescue. Excuse me. Look at Captain Underpants' face. It's almost like... Oh, well, I don't know. George, Harold, and Captain Underpants got inside the school all safely and closed the front door behind them. I think the toilets are all outside, said George, but not for long, said Harold. Quickly, they ran to the school's kitchen and discovered a cart holding a large vat of something green and sludgy. Yuck! Said George, holding his nose. What is this stuff? I think it's tomorrow's lunch, said Harold. Perfect, said George. I never thought I'd be glad to see Cream's chip it beef. Excuse me. Together they wheeled the top of a sticky green glob up down the hallway, and out the side door of the school. Captain Underpants sat on the cart and stretched a pair of underwear over his head like a slingshot. George stood over him and scooped some cafeteria food into the underwear and stretched it back. Harold wheeled the cart toward the talking toilets. Tra-la-la! Shouted Captain Underpants loudly. The talking toilets turned and it saw three heroes all at once. They shouted, "Yum, yum, eat 'em up!" And the chase was on. Okay. Sorry. Talk! Harold pulled the cart across the playground and then as the toilets zipped after them. "Fire one!" cried Captain Underpants. George shot a glob of cream chip beef into the first toilet's mouth. The toilet swallowed it whole. Harold kept pulling as George scooped another serving thing into the underwear and pulled it back. "Fire two!" cried Captain Underpants. Zip went the cafeteria food right into the second toilet's mouth. Excuse me. The whole progress repeated itself until every last toilet swallowed at least 2 servings of cream chipped beef. "We're almost out of ammo!" Captain Underpants shouted. "And I don't think I can run anymore," said Harold, huffing and puffing. "Don't worry," said George. "Look!" "Don't worry," said George. "Look!" said George, pointing at the toilets. They all had slowed down and were beginning to groan and wobble around, their eyes crossed. Austin turned, and they earned an odd shade of green. "Look out!" cried Harold. "I think they're gonna hurl!" And that's just what they did. George, Harold, and Captain Underpants watched as the toilets upchucked everything that had been eaten during the day. The cream chipped beef, the underwear, even the teachers all came out without a scratch. Then the toilet spun around into small circles and fell to the ground, dead. George checked the teachers. "They're alive," he said. "Unconscious, but alive." "Wow," said Harold. "That was easy." "Too easy," said George. "What does he mean, too easy? They all defeated a bunch of tiny toilets. Oh, I see what he means. What do you mean? Asked Harold. George pulled out their comic book. Hold their comic book out his backpack and showed it to Harold. Remember that? How the Patsy 2000 turned everything on the front cover of our comic book to life? He asked. Yeah, so, said Harold. Well, said George as he pointed at the Turbo Toy 2000 on the front cover of the comic, we haven't seen him yet. Chapter 16, The Turbo Toilet 2000! Suddenly, the Turbo Toilet 2000 came charging out the front door of the school with a terrible crash. The earth rumbled beneath its mighty footsteps as a nearly ton of twisting steel and raging proclaim and descended upon our heroes. Crash! You three meddling fools may have destroyed my army of talking toilets! Screamed the Turbo Toilet 2000, but you're all out of cafeteria food. How are you gonna stop me? I'll tell you how! Captain Underpants said boldly, with wedgie power! Wait! Captain Underpants! Cried George. You can't find the thing! I'll rip you to pieces! Boys, said Captain Underpants, nobly, I must fight violently for truth, justice, and all that is pretty strong and carny. Captain Underpants leapt onto the Turbo Toilet 2000 and the battle began. I sure hope this doesn't lead to incredibly graphic violence, said Harold. Me too, said George. Chapter 17. The Incredibly Graphic Violence Chapter Part 1 in Fliporama. Warning. The following chapter contains intense scenes showing a man in his underwear battling a giant toilet. Please do not try this at home. Introducing Fliporama! In the past, literally dozens of epic novels have been written and that have been changed into the course of history of Moby Dick, Gone with the Wind, and of course, Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. The only difference between our novel and the other Brand X novels is that ours is the only one that cares enough to bring you the latest in cheesy animation technology. Here's how it works. Step 1. Place your left hand inside the dotted lines. It's marked left hand here. Hold the book open flat. Step 2. Grasp the right hand page. Hit with your right thumb and index finger inside the dotted lines. And it's marked right thumb here. Step 3. Now quickly flip the right hand page back and forth until the picture appears to be animated. Wedgie power versus body power! Oh no! The body power or punch prevails! Look at Captain Underpants' eyes! That's so funny. The Commodore is Commodore or captures the captain. 18. Harold and the Purple Ballpoint Pen. Like, this title of this chapter is a reference to Harold and the Purple Crayon. Come on in here. Everything seemed hopeless. Captain Underpants had slipped and fallen into the mouth of the Turbo Toilet 2000. And now, the giant toilet is coming after George and Harold. Ha 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 ha! Laughed the powerful proclaiming predator. Once I have eaten up, you two kids, I'll take over the world! Not if we have anything to say about it! Yelled George. George and Harold ran into the school and locked the door behind them. The Turbo Toy banged against the door with its fist, shouting, "You boys can't hide in there forever!" George and Harold ran to the gym. "I've got a plan," said George. "We need to invent a character who can invent a giant robot toilet. How about a giant robot urinal?" Asked. "We could call it the urinal." "No way!" George. They nevertheless get away with that children's book. We're skating on thin ice as it is. Wait, this book is not inappropriate. Come on here. "All right," said Harold. "How about a giant plunger robot? He could carry a really big plunger and..." "That's it!" cried George. So Harold took out his purple ballpoint pen and began to draw. "Give him laser eyes," said Harold. "All right," said Harold. "And give him turbo-atomic rocket boosters," said George. "All right, got it," said Harold. "And make him obey our every command," said George. "I'm way ahead of you," said Harold. Excuse me. Harold finished the drawing. And George inspected it carefully. "This might work," said George. "Yeah," said Harold. "If the Patsy 2000 can hold out." The boys turned and looked at the dented, cracked, and beaten up machine laying on its side in the corner. George and Harold pushed the Patsy 2000 upright and dusted it off. "Come on, I'm Patsy, old girl," said George. "We really need you now." "Yeah," said Harold. "The fate of the entire planet is in our hands." Chapter 19. The Incredible Robo-Plunger. George took Harold's picture and placed it on the screen of the Patsy 2000 and pressed start. The lights around them dimmed as the weary machine began to shake and smoke. Lightning bolts zapped, thunder clapped, and the whole gymnasium shook with the photoatomic trans. Energy. "Come on, Patsy!" George shouted over the horrible noise. "You can do it, baby!" Finally, a small ding was heard, and the Patsy 2000 coughed up a huge metallic behemoth. It rose up and stood valiantly before George and Harold. It was the Incredible Robo-Plunger. "Hooray!" cried George. "It worked! Way to go, Patsy!" Harold cheered. "Now let's go outside and kick some Turbo Toilet Tushy!" Plunk. Ding. Looks like the Patsy 2000 is really being up. Man, Melvin should make repairs. Chapter 20. The Incredibly Graphic Violence Chapter Part 2. In Flip-O-Rama. Warning! The following chapter contains it's terribly naughty scenes. It's depicting a giant toilet with getting its shiny hiney kicked. All toilet violence were terribly monitored by PETT. People for the Incredible Treatment of Toilets. It's no actual toilets were harmed during the making of this chapter. It's a good thing I already know the rules. The incredible Robo Plunger to the rescue! The incredible Robo Plunger kicks the Turbo Toy 2000 sushi. The Turbo Toy 2000 takes the plunge. Chapter 21, The Aftermath. The incredible Robo Plunger had defeated the evil Turbo Toy 2000, but George and Harold's problems weren't over yet. They reached into the crumpled mouth of the Turbo Toy 2000 and pulled out their principal. "What happened here?" cried Mr. Krupp. "The school has been destroyed. The teachers are unconscious, and I'm standing here in my underwear." Uh-oh. Harold whispered. "Captain Underpants must have gotten toilet water on his head. He's turned back into Mr. Principal Krupp." George took Mr. Krupp's clothes and hair out of his backpack. I can hand it to him. "I'm ruined," Principal Krupp whined as he dressed himself. "I'm going to be held responsible for this mess. I'm going to lose my job." "Maybe not. We can fix everything and clean up this whole mess." I'm not going to lose my job. Right here. "Yeah," said Harold, "but it'll cost you." "Cost me what?" asked Mr. Krupp. "Well," said George, "we'd like you to cancel our detention and our suspension. And we'd also like to be principals for the day," said Harold. "All right," said Mr. Krupp. If you can really fix everything, you've got a deal." Sure. Orange and Harold turned and spoke to the incredible Robo Plunger. "All right, robot guy," said George. "Make yourself useful and pick up all this mess." "Yes, and fix up the school too," said Harold. "Use your laser eyes to repair all the broken windows and stuff. And when you're done," said George, "take all the evidence and fly it up to Uranus. And don't come back," said Harold. Chapter 22. To make a long story short, the robot obeyed. Chapter 23. After the aftermath. The incredible Robo Plunger soared off into space just as the teachers began to gain consciousness. "I just had the strangest dream," said Miss Ribble. It was all about these evil toilets who wanted to take over the world. We had the same dream too," said the other teachers. Well, said Mr. Krupp. Things turned out all right after all." "Not quite," said George. "It's payback time." Chapter 24. Principles of the Day, or the Invention Convention and Detention, Suspension, and Prevention. Attention, students! Said George over the intercom the following day. This is Principal George. You are all excused from classes today. There will be no homework or tests. And said everybody gets an A plus for the day. That's right, said Principal Harold. Also, we are hosting an all-day recess as outside, complete with free pizza, French fries, cotton candy, and a live DJ. Now go outside and play. Excuse me. Principal George and Principal Harold strolled out into the playground to behold their glorious domain. While Harold made himself a banana split at the all-you-can-eat ice cream sundae bar. It's good to be the principal, said George. Yep, said Harold. I wish we could be principals every day. Later, George and Harold paid a visit to the unfortunate folks who were spending the day writing all the sentences in the detention room. All the teachers were there, along with Melvin Sneedley. Mr. Krupp looked out at the window at the all-day recess celebration going on outside. How are you boys gonna pay for all that ice cream and pizza? He asked. Oh, we sold some stuff, said Harold. What did you sell? Asked Mr. Krupp. Your antique walnut desk and leather chair, said George, and all the furniture in the teacher's lounge. What? Screamed Mr. Krupp. I think we'd better leave now, said Harold. George and Harold left the detention room in a hurry. Miss Ambrose snapped her fingers. Snap! She yelled. Uh-oh, said George. Did Miss Ambrose just snap her fingers? Within seconds, Mr. Cup dashed out of the detention room and ran toward the hallway toward his office. He had a goofy, heroic, all too familiar smile on his face.
Did you know Cheez-It made...
Oh no! Don't cry, Harold! Here we go again! Said George. Tra-la-la! Dogman in the Tongue of Justice by George Beard and Harold Hutchins. I could probably made a bonus comic. Dogman was the greatest cop ever, but he had some bad habits. He drank out of the toilet, he licked himself in inappropriate places, and he threw up everywhere. Blap! Splap! Dogman! Later, why you gotta bust my chops, huh? You better straighten up or else. Dogman promised to be a better man, but can he be a better dog? Meanwhile, across town, Petey was up to his old tricks. I have invented an evil potion! It turns people into mindless zombies! you know, I'll put a few drops up in these air fresheners, and folks smell them, and they would have to obey me. Petey sneaked to the police station and put an air freshener in every cop car. Soon, every cop will obey me. Later, ring. Hello. There's a bank robbery. Where? At the bank. Oh. Then, and the cops ran into their cars. Woo, woo, zoom. But then, sniff, sniff. Muscle be Petey. Soon, every cop became a mindless zombie, except one. Dogman liked to drive his head out the window. Man, what a smart art super cop. Soon, he never smelled the evil air freshener. Dogman arrived at the bank, just as Petey was escaping. Calling all zombie cops! Meet me at Petey's secret base! And make it snappy! Yes, Petey. We will obey. Dogman chased Petey across town and into his secret lab. Dogman was getting super thirsty. Then he saw it! Glistening, sparkling, refreshing, cool as a mountain stream, first crunching and delicious. Glug, glug, glug. Dogman ran up to the next floor, and it's when he saw where a big surprise awaited for him. Ha ha ha! All the cops now answer to me! Destroy Dogman! Yes, Petey. Is this the end of Dogman? Of course it is. There's only one antidote to my zombie potion. And I keep it safely and where nobody will ever find it. Wait, this isn't the end of Dogman. Right here. Downstairs, here's in my shiny white toilet bowl! Dogman had to act fast, so he thought of a 3-step plan. Triple fliporamas. Animate the action cheesy. Here's how it works. Hold the book open like this. Flip page back and forth. Alright, you all know how fliporama works. Step 1. Retrieve the antidote. Step 2. Collect the antidote. Step 3. Apply the antidote. Dogman licked all the cops' faces, and soon, hey, we ain't zombies anymore. Oh man, aren't you glad there ain't no zombie ain't no more? I sure ain't. Hooray for Dogman! Right. Time for fun facts. I got a picture of the talking toilets chasing George and Harold. It's so awesome. Fun fact number 1. When he was in 3rd grade, Dave Pilkey had made a comic book called Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. It was about an evil scientist who created a potion that brought things to life. The scientist flushed the dangerous potion down a toilet, hoping to get rid of it. Unfortunately, they had brought the toilet to life instead. That simple comic book was created in 1975 was the inspiration for this epic novel. Fun fact. Act number 2. You might notice a theme in George and Harold's comic books. The gym teacher always gets attacked by the villains. But nobody seems to care. The theme occurs again and again because many of days for our books origin teachers were really mean to him. Note, Dave's lawyer told him to use the word many. So let this be a lesson to the gym teachers all around the world. Be nice to your students, or someday they might grow up and get revenge by making fun of you in their epic novels. Fun fact number 3. The term invention convention was coined by Dave's uncle Peter Pilkey. Is a retired school teacher from Berea, Ohio, who used to host of an invention convention at school every year. Note, despite our spectaculation, Dave's uncle Peter has never had anything to do with a peck of pickled peppers. Fun fact number 4. The little girl who appears on page 34 is Dave Pilkey's niece, Madison. She was 2 years old when this book was first released. Fun fact number 5. George and Harold are both based on Dave Pilkey when he was a kid. George and Harold, Dave Pilkey was like George and Harold, Dave Pilkey was the class clown. He made comics, got in lots of trouble, was with his teachers and principal, and even switched the letters around on signs on bulletin boards. Fun fact number 6. Melvin Sneeling was based on a real person who was in Dave Pilkey's class. He used to finish his work before everyone else, then and grade his own papers and give himself an A+. He was a big telltale too. Thanks for watching!